But if such a meeting were seriously prepared, how could Putin suddenly explain to Russian audience, why is he talking to Zelensky, a man he has spent years dismissing as a Nazi, as a Western puppet? Wouldn't that shatter the, Kremlin's own propaganda?
Putin is not anxious about such questions. He is a leader of totalitarian regime, not democratic one. And he has a machine of totalitarian propaganda which would resolve any questions, any problems. This machine would explain to Russian people everything and anything. Even if Vladimir Putin would have to meet with Vladimir Zelensky to head such summit, he's not very much bothered about how to explain it to Russian people. It would be explained, and Vladimir Putin has no real elections, has no real constituents, so it's not a problem. The problem for himself is the meeting itself. He doesn't want it because of his strong, profound antipathy to Vladimir Zelensky. We can remember that Vladimir Putin has been, for all his political life, going to be treated as such a kind of tough guy. But how he acted, for instance, on the 23rd of June 2023, during the Yevgeny Prigozhin's coup d'etat attempt. We remember that he was not a tough guy. He fled Moscow. Vladimir Zelensky didn't flee Kiev in late February 2022, despite the proposals, not just despite the threats of Russia, but despite the proposals of respected Western partners, including the United States, to flee and to create the senseless Ukrainian government in exile. And that, of course, is also a point of annoyance, a point of pain for Vladimir Putin. He wants to show Vladimir Zelensky he has not just got a victory over Ukraine, but he has ousted Vladimir Zelensky from his post. That's why he's by no means inclined to such a meeting, at least shortly. But of course, the situation could turn out in such a way that Vladimir Putin would be forced to meet Zelensky. It's another question, but for him, how to explain it, how to talk with Russian people is not a problem at all. All the problems for him are in international and military fields.
Today is going to happen a discussion in Pentagon regarding security guarantees to Ukraine. Do you think this is a sign that European leaders, I've heard they're supposed to be there, that the European leaders with the United States are serious as never about security guarantees to Ukraine?
I still don't know what is really meant by such security guarantees, because the question is being discussed for ages. But we are talking especially about Budapest as a potential city of course, incredible Putin-Zelensky meeting. We remember the Budapest Memorandum of 1994, which is a symbol of how those security guarantees were really treated by Western partners of Ukraine. And now, from time to time, the Western leaders talk about sending troops to Ukraine. Next day, they refuse such ideas. But of course, Vladimir Putin would be completely against any NATO countries' troops' presence onto Ukrainian soil, and this would be a key question for him. And that's why Trump would have to agree not to let NATO forces be in Ukraine if he wants still to play a moderator role in this and all this process. That's why I wouldn't expect much from it. And European leaders emphasize, outspokenly or not, that everything would be done after the US goes with its guarantees first. Though the American-centered power doesn't exist anymore, psychologically, European leaders are not fully prepared to recognize it and to act on their own fully. They still want America to make the first step. And Trump's America is not very much prepared for it.
Yeah. Stanislav, Melania Trump and her letter in Alaska. There was not a single word about the Ukrainian children abducted by Russia. And still, this letter was widely circulated in both Western, Ukrainian media. Was this just an information noise, or is it part of part of the game that she and her husband is playing, like a good cop, bad cop?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Melania Trump is a soft part of his husband. Let's remember the presidential campaign of 2024. Then the question of abortion rights. Donald Trump hesitated, and finally his position was that the states should decide it on their own. Every state decides for itself. Melania's position was distinctly pro-abortion. In such way, the complete position of this family was smoother for the majority of American women for whom the abortion question was the key issue in those elections. In that way, so Trump is becoming more and more a friend of Putin, regardless of his attempts to conceal it to a certain extent. So Melania should, as we have heard it before, Melania attracted his husband's attention to the innumerable victims of Ukraine, to the necessity to put stop to the war as soon as possible, and now to the destiny of Ukrainian children. Of course, they are a part of the same political mechanism. Yes, two cops undoubtedly, and though Ukrainian children are not directly mentioned in the letter, everything is understandable. And I think Vladimir Putin is prepared for some concessions in this very field, because he's very sensitive to all issues, all problems connected with children. For Putin's children issue, but it would happen only if he gets some concessions from Ukraine, from Vladimir Zelensky, and the most important fields for him, and territories, and security, and bringing Ukraine out of NATO, and putting stop to Euro-Atlantic integration of Ukraine, and so on.
Stanislav, you said Putin is very sensitive when it comes to children. He's a monster. Cannot be.
Putin.
He's a monster.
Putin,
he cannot be sensitive towards Ukrainian children.
No, for him, everything connected with children is a very sensitive issue. At least because he considers all Russian people as just children, as a big child. No, for him, children, and he was really nervous about this international court order last year. He's no more so nervous after Donald Trump has come to power and undermined the authority of this international court. But initially, Putin was anxious about how to get out of that order. How to get rid of it.
But why he's not anxious about the Ukrainian kids he killed during this 3.5 years of Russian invasion?
He cannot explain to himself the real number of victims and the scale of it, because he's conducting the war. And for him, everything is worth it if it's about victory.